Scooterheads, are you ready for the future? Because it's that time of year, the time of year when we get to see a glimpse of the future. Every January in Las Vegas is the Consumer Electronics Show. There are certain qualifications you have to meet to even be allowed into the venue. If you're a YouTuber, the requirement is a minimum of 50,000 views per month. Obviously, the requirements for a podcaster are a little more fuzzy because they let me in for the second year in a row. Now with podcasting, it's strange to get statistics because your RSS that hosts your show sends it out to Apple, well, in our case of the Electric Scooter Podcast, not only Apple, but Google Podcasts, Podchaser, Stitcher, Deezer, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts. There might be a few more that I'm forgetting. So each one of those has their own statistics. In order to have access to their statistics, you need to pay $7 a month or whatever it is to each one of those. So as far as electric scooter podcasts go, I'm the only one. The bottom line is they let me in somehow. How do you, the Scooterhead audience, benefit? Well, for one thing, I am using a DJI wireless mic to transmit every word I'm saying to you right now to my computer. That's pretty cool. Is it going to sound as good as an SM58 going through a processor? I don't think so, but I'm getting ready to hit the road again. So I got to get all my gear and tools together and see what works. Do I have to carry an entire podcast gear setup, or can I get away with this? Does it sound as good as normally? Probably not. Maybe I can tinker with the audio. You guys don't care about that. I'll tell you some cool stuff, though. At CES, guess who I ran into? If you guessed, it's that same person who called the Segway GT2 a 9-bot max on crack, and in the same video, a high-speed street princess. The man who, like yours truly, has a sister named Christine who's pretty cool. You probably guessed correctly.
From the Northwest, he rides the wolf. When it comes to speed, he's not a cringer. He's got a DIY van. I'm telling you, he's the man. Everybody, it's Ginger!
Hello, everybody. This is Ginger on Wheels. Thank you for tuning into the Electric Scooter Podcast, the best podcast and the worst podcast I listen to because it's the only podcast I listen to.
And it's the only podcast you need.
Yep. Perfect for riding.
Quick story about that song, since we love rabbit holes. I got the chord progression from a guy named Bubba B. He used to live down the street from me, and the song was called Is I Wanna Be Like You. Is was a Hawaiian musician who played the ukulele. His name was Israel Kamakawiwaole, and you may have heard him do Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but that wasn't his only good song. He had a lot of great songs. Unfortunately, he passed away. I was able to see him just days before he passed. He was still playing. He was on stage at the Barnes & Noble in Kapolei, Hawaii, and he had oxygen running from a tank straight up into his nose, and he was still up there with his ukulele playing his heart out. And I played that song in my living room Well, the chord progression, not the song, because there were no lyrics to it. And I had my drummer with me at the time. We just recorded that little chord progression. And when I was looking for a theme song for Ginger, I just thought it fit. And it's a song of admiration for another person, so it fits in that way too. I think some of the vendors at CES 2023 thought I was his PR man or something, because they would wait until he was on the other side of the booth or not paying attention or walking away, and they would thank me for bringing him around.
Well, when you hear that, you know what it is, right? It's the theme song to Ginger on Wheels. And we're here today with Ginger on Wheels in fabulous Las Vegas. Why are we here, Ginger?
CES.
The Consumer Electronics Show. And I don't know about you, I had a good time.
Yeah, I had a blast. It was a good time.
It was different from last year. It was actually quite a bit different. Last year, we had the electric scooter guide there, and they had a track. You could try, I don't know how many different types of scooters they had, maybe 10, 12, 15. I don't know. I rode a bunch of them. And it even had a bridge set up so you could ride your scooters over the bridge. So Ginger had texted me, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago or something, I think, mentioning that you might be going to CES or something like that. And it totally just skipped my mind. I didn't think, CES is coming up, Ginger's going to be here. But then after CES started, he texted me and said, hey, I'm in town. What's up? So we walked around and looked at some of the different booths. What did you have to do? You were going to ride an electric bike?
Yeah, Hey Bike. I went there and I filmed a video for them. I was excited to see their booth, and they had invited me down to come check it out because they had sent me the Hey Bike Mars to review before, and they were really excited about their new lineup. So they wanted to show off the Hey Bike Tyson and the Hey Bike Braun, which are their 2 new models.
Tyson and Braun?
Yeah.
So they're really trying to get
They're
that
really
burly.
getting the whole fighting
When
thing
you
going.
rode the Tyson, did it bite your ear?
No, it didn't bite my ear off.
Huh, okay. So how do you spell hey?
H-E-Y. It's just like, hey, there's a bike.
Hey
bike.
Hey, bike.
Yeah, hey, bike.
Maybe, what is it? The new Dodge Ram, the new electric Dodge Ram can follow you around. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that.
They had it at CES. Guy's walking around some big garage or something, and his truck is literally just following it. I don't know what use case scenario you would use for that, but maybe it's like in the old cowboy movies, where the guy whistles and his horse comes to him. Maybe you go, hey, bike in the future, and the bike's
The
going to
bike will drive up to you and you can ride off.
So that's mainly why you came to. But now that you came to CES, you probably want to come every year, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely coming back. I knew it was an electronics show, that it was going to be spectacular, but I didn't know how big it was. It's massive. Consumes the entire strip almost.
So for people who don't know, the Consumer Electronics Show is a place for companies to display products that they're making now or prototypes that are going to be introduced into the future. And they want to get professionals' opinions on those products, or they just want exposure to large corporations. There are corporations from Japan, India, Korea,
I thought it was cool how they had that one, the central hall
in the Venetian.
In the Venetian, sorry. That was like organized by country, based on where the stuff came from, instead of by category like the other.
That was
halls.
interesting. Yeah. So the idea is I come up with a little machine that polishes the LCD on your scooter, and I produce it, and I go there and I have a booth, and General Electric or Fujitomo Heavy Industries out of Nagasaki or somebody sees that and goes, oh my God, we've got to have something to polish the LCDs. And you
Bada
make
bing,
a
bada
contract.
boom. There
Bada
it
bing,
is.
bada boom. You're a billionaire. So there's all kinds of weird and interesting stuff. And I think, Ginger, I think you were a little more open to kind of looking at different and interesting stuff. Maybe I had the opinion, I could be wrong, but I was like laser focused on scooters. Like
It seemed like you were there for scooters.
I can't see the other booths that are.
They're in the way of the scooter booths.
Guaranteed, women will think you are handsome if you swallow this pill. Whatever it is, I don't see it. We can measure your brain waves, and then we can make you instantly smarter. I just don't see any of that stuff. I'm looking for 8.5 to 11-inch rubber wheels. My mind is kind of sifting through all that. But last year there were some, how do you call it, adult toys, marital aids that came in all different colors and did all kinds of weird stuff. And there was a motorcycle I got on that they play a background of like you're in Blade Runner or something, like super high tech. You're just sitting on the motorcycle, you're not moving, but it looks like you're really going fast through these
Like
city
a VR
streets.
motorcycle?
Yeah, it's a real motorcycle, but the background makes it look like you're in a movie. You're leaning into corners and you're doing all this great. So there's a lot of whiz bang stuff last year. This year, even though they're saying CES is back, after COVID or whatever, I thought last year had a little bit more interesting stuff in it, but it may just be because I was only thinking about scooters. Last year, you could go to the electric scooter guides area and test out all these scooters, and then you leave the world of scooters and you go see some cool stuff for a couple hours before you go home.
I wish they had that this year. That would have been really cool.
Electric scooter. Did you hear? Was it you that told me why they didn't have it this year?
No, I
To rent that same spot in the parking lot, and it's just tarmac,
which was empty.
Empty.
Yeah.
$170,000. Now,
Oh my God.
Paul Somerville, Chuck Temple, somebody, if you want to correct me, I don't know if that's the reason why you weren't there, Electric Scooter Guide, if you're listening, but if that is why, I understand. That's a lot of jack.
Yeah, that's a lot of scooter affiliates right there.
That's a lot of jack for a little bit of tarmac. But please, it would be great if they came back.
Oh, I really would. And I think you could probably get other scooter manufacturers or distributors involved and kind of all chip in, because Electric Scooter Guide is representing multiple manufacturers. So if they all worked in concert together, I think they could make it happen.
Well, that's what they did last year.
Oh.
It was amazing.
Okay.
It was fantastic. And if you want to see what it was like last year, shameless plug. I don't care if nobody watches my videos. I really don't care if you go watch this. But if you do want to see what it was like last year,
You should watch them.
CES 2022, the Dagwood Streets YouTube channel. You can see it all. But this year, with the exception of Okai, who's an up-and-comer, maybe we'll talk about them a little bit. But with the exception of them, it was a lot of, what do you want to say? How do you want to say this politely? Like small brands that you've never heard of. Like you saw the Fluid Freeride Horizon that was just called something else.
rebrand.
It was the Plug or something like that.
Something Plus.
All these different companies, they buy scooters from different factories. They buy components from different factories. I say different. I should say from the same factory. Like if it's a shock absorber, some suspension component. One company, what I saw here was they paint it red. Mm-hmm. And it's the same deck as the Fluid Freeride Horizon.
Sometimes they don't even paint them.
Sometimes it's just the same scooter in a different name.
Sticker.
Yeah, what was the one you saw that it was like a seated type scooter, and you pointed out to me, you said, hey, that's the same one we saw at the other booth. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
It was the first. Was it the first one we walked into? It was called, really strange name, like Aldrud or something like that. And it's some city in China, and the people aren't really scooter heads that are there. They're kind of representatives who could get the time off to be sent to America and wanted to see Vegas.
Or a lot of times they're just Vegas locals that were told, hey, man, the booth, here's some specs.
Yeah.
That's what it was at a couple of the booths I went to.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't really know. I'm just kind of here running the booth.
Right. With the exception of Okai, I thought, well, not just Okai, but there were a couple that I went to.
There were a few there that were innovative.
Navi, I mean, was interesting. They had some different stuff that they said that they designed themselves. At the time, we could only think of Okai as the only company we know that designs in-house and produces.
The Okai, what made Okai unique to me is they in-house design and manufacture everything. Mm-hmm. Not just some components that they need that they can't find somewhere else.
Except for like tires or whatever, of course.
He did say everything, but I assume the tires are outsourced.
No. Yeah, well...
And things like bearings they probably don't make.
Right.
The Electric Scooter Podcast, where studies reveal that 97% of listeners have zero chance of being struck by a meteor in their entire life.
Stick around for future podcasts because we're going to hear more from Ginger on Wheels. You ever meet somebody for the first time and you just feel like they're a kindred spirit? It's not that common, but as I was leaving CES on the final day on Sunday when everybody was packing up to leave, I was walking by and somebody noticed my Electric Scooter Podcast shirt. I was wearing a photography vest, so I was kind of covered, and he just saw the word scooter and he goes, "Hey, you like scooters?" And I pulled open my vest and he saw Electric Scooter Podcast, and I pointed to it and with a look on my face like, "Well, what do you think?" And he goes, "Oh, I love scooters." And we just started talking. Turned out he's a Dualtron dealer. And this guy was just so cool. I got back from doing my last interview, so I still had all my podcast gear in my hands. Ginger was off doing something else, riding Hey Bike. So I said, "Yeah, here's a little booth here. Can we sit down and talk for a while?" And this guy had some great stories, and he's truly a scooter head. When I say great stories, we try to have fun on this show, but we also present the news. And this guy was ripped off. He's a scooter head, and he got ripped off, like blatant fraud. I don't hear many people talking about that kind of thing. I'm sure it's happening, but really interesting stories. I don't know if we're going to get to everything that he had to say, but I kind of wanted to mix up Ginger on Wheels with this interview with Shannon Parker from Lincoln, Arkansas, which I keep hearing the northwest part of Arkansas is really beautiful. A lot of good mountain bike trails and things like that. This guy was fascinating, and he's a interesting speaker, and I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. Remember, we are at the Consumer Electronics Show. There is ambient noise everywhere. It is pretty nuts. It's loud. So the subject matter is interesting. The content is interesting. Maybe put it inside your head that you're actually at CES. Whatever blows your skirt up. I'm just telling you, there's going to be background noise. Here he is, folks, Shannon Parker. And the name of his company is Kick Ass. 2 words, Kick Gas. Kick Ass.
Dagwood Streets from the Electric Scooter Podcast here at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in fabulous Las Vegas. And we're sitting here with Shannon Parker. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Shannon, and what your involvement with scooters?
Yeah, I'm a scooter head. When I saw your shirt walking by, it got my attention. I actually, I'm a dealer, authorized dealer for Dualtron, and it's called Kick Gas with GAS. So Kick Gas, I'm sure you get the funny part there, but Kick Gas scooters. And yeah, man, I just like scooters, and I have a passion for it. I didn't get into doing scooters because of the money. It kind of went the other way around. I mean, I really don't make any money, but I got into it because I like scooters so much. And so everywhere I went with my scooter, I got so much attention, I said, well, I want to become a dealer just in case I could sell somebody one. And I've sold a few of them doing that. Just people just check them out and they want one.
Do you sell all the Dualtron models or certain ones? Do you have other companies?
I can get all of them. I don't carry an inventory anymore. I just wait for somebody to want it and then I order it. I kind of bought a bunch of scooters, and I can just tell anybody this: if you ever ship one, don't let anybody know what's in it. Cover it up, because FedEx, UPS, they'll lose it, if you get what I mean. So these people see something they like, and the people on the routes, they'll take it from the warehouse and it'll disappear.
And you're talking $2,000.
Yeah, and I sold a $3,000 scooter on eBay, and I bid it. I lost all the money, and I contacted eBay, and I said, well, am I covered? I sent it where you told me to. I did everything right. I bought the label through you guys, everything, but they said no. They said there's no insurance on it. And I said, wow. So I lost $3,000 on a Dualtron scooter going to Florida. The tracking number just stopped tracking on the way to Florida. It's tracking, just disappeared.
Now, if you went through UPS, could you do it that way and buy some insurance?
You can, even FedEx, if you get the coverage and you pay for it. But I didn't know that. I thought by buying the label through eBay, because there was no option to get any extra insurance or anything like that, I thought I was covered, because they always, tell sellers, if you ship to the address that's in the payment and you ship within, 2 or 3 days, and, you got to follow the criteria, so to speak. But if you do this, we'll protect you as the seller.
But they don't say what protection they provide.
No.
It's not financial.
No, so so if the scooter got to the person, right? Let's say it showed arrived, and then the person was some kind of fraudster or something like that, then they would have covered me. But since it disappeared in transit, eBay said, well, it's not our fault.
And that's the most vulnerable part of the transaction, is while it's in transit. So
you would think. I mean, I guess. Well, I sold another scooter to a lady in California. It was about a $2,000 scooter, and she bought it. And soon after she bought it, she called me, and she said, "Oh, I'm not going to be at my house. Can you?" I called the local FedEx place. They won't send it to me there. Can you let them know that it's okay for me to pick it up at the FedEx hub? And I said, I can't do that because I won't be protected. Well, somehow she talked to somebody there and figured out how to intercept it before it was delivered to the address that it was supposed to go to, got the scooter, and then canceled the payment. This is a whole separate one than the one that went down to Florida. But eBay did eventually, after wrestling with them, cover me. Because I said, hey, I have nothing to do with this. They went and did something. I don't know. It's not my fault. But at least it was shown delivered to that hub.
But the lady in California, that's complete fraud. She had a scheme. She was planning to rip you off.
I called her because I had her number from when she had called me.
Yeah.
And she would answer the phone. And she'd tell me that it was a mistake. She ironically said she had came to Vegas and there was some kind of problem with their card, and her boyfriend canceled. Like this big scheme. And she kept just stringing me along. But the funny thing is, she'd answer the phone and then she'd be like, I was like, well, give me another credit card right now because that transaction got canceled or whatever. And she's like, oh, I'm doing yoga right now. I can't get up and get to my car. Call me back. And just
do you know who Yogi Steve is from the Electric Scooter Academy?
Yeah.
Maybe contact him.
Yeah, I've heard of Yogi Steve.
Yeah,
before.
he's been hurt, so I don't think he's riding right now, and he rides Dualtron.
Right.
That might be something to mention to him. Maybe pay her a visit. I know Old Man Dan. He's been on the show.
Old Man Dan, he's cool. I reached out to him before, too. I didn't get to meet up with him because he was out of state. But when I was in California.
He traveled around the United States in his van.
Right. Well, let me tell you really quick how I got into scooters. It was actually here at CES.
Okay.
A few years ago, they had a tent by the South Hall at the convention, and it was like this big, it was like this, but a tent. And it was the last day, and the guy was walking around from, I think, China or whatever. He's like, scooter for sale. He's like, $100, $100. I had no interest in scooters at the time, but he was just, saying $100. I'm thinking, well, I'll just get this because I had all these bags, right? I had all this swag from walking around and people just give it all, especially the last day, right? You just get everything, people just leave stuff. You'll see it tonight, So, yeah, so I had all these bags of just weird stuff, batteries and grapes and I don't know, everything. And so I said, okay, I'm going to get this scooter and I'm going to ride it back to my RV. And it was just a little dinky scooter. There's nothing to it. Little front wheel drive, hardly any power, just a little thing, right? So I put all the bags on the handlebars and it held all the bags, So I get out on the street, and I'm a big dude, and you can't tell on the podcast, but I'm about 250 pounds. And I'm on this little tiny scooter going down the road all the way to my RV, just having a ball, man. This little thing, I'm just smiling. Everybody's looking at me. People are like, how much did you pay for it? And it's like generating all this excitement. Yeah. People like, I'll buy it from you. And, all this, people's all excited. I'm just having a ball. So I get down to my RV and unload everything, and I'm just kind of riding it around. It made me smile. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go to the next level up because, obviously this thing can't get me up a hill or anything. It still was fun, but it wasn't too practical. So I started looking on YouTube. And that's when the light bulb went off that there are real scooters. Like, I didn't know they were like real vehicles.
Non-toys.
Right. I'm thinking they're the stuff you rent on the corner, like just kind of like a little joke. I didn't understand there's levels. And so then I got a Nan Robot D6. I think it was a D6, D5. D5 Plus, I think, the off-road one. I got that, loved it, but of course the battery was not that great. It's only 23 amp hour, I believe. And but I had fun on that. And then I just went to the next level. Then I ended up working my way all the way up to the X2, which was life-changing. That thing is therapeutic. I mean, I get on that thing, I just go all day long.
So that's your primary scooter right now is the Dualtron X2?
Well, before I sold it, because I ordered one. Somebody bought one because they rode mine and they got hooked. Like I said, that's kind of how it happens. And I ordered one for them, but the distributor I was using, which was USA Mini Motors. There's Mini Motors USA. There's these guys called USA Mini Motors that they kind of went out of business. They kind of fizzled out. That's who I was the original distributor with. And I ordered it, paid them the money, but they didn't deliver the scooter. So I had to fight with them to finally get my money back. So I got my money back. But
Sounds like you have bad luck with scooters, but you love them.
I
still love
do.
them.
So I got my money back, but I still wasn't able to provide the scooter to the customer. So I ended up selling them my X2. I said, I'll give you a discount on it. I can't get the X2 right now. So they were so passionate, I said, I'll get one later here. And I gave them a discount on mine. So I gave up my beloved X2.
So right now you have nothing.
I have a Thunder.
Oh, you have a Thunder.
I have a Thunder and I have a Dualtron 3, which they don't make anymore. That's my wife rides. It's a little smaller. The Thunder still kicks butt, but it's not an X2. The X2 is just on another level. That thing will do 68 miles an hour. I mean, it's just bananas.
There he goes, scooter heads. Shannon Parker of Kick Gas. How about that guy? That guy was fascinating. I could have talked to him for hours, and we did have a lot more to the conversations, though. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. We're going to have more of Ginger. We're going to have more of Shannon Parker. We are going to hear from Okai. We are going to hear from a bunch of other companies, including one called Navi. We got a lot of interesting stuff coming up, Scooterhead, so stick around. Boy, I love that Shannon Parker guy. That guy is so cool. And those stories are fascinating. Scooterheads ripping off Scooterheads? What? We're at a half an hour now, so you know what I say. Keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. Aloha, Scooterheads.